What's going on, guys? Sharpshot here. Hope you guys are having a great day so far. So for today's video, we're going to be doing an exhaustion perk tier list with the brand new perk Smash Hit and seeing how it compares to the older exhaustion perks in the game. Before we get into the video, I just want to quickly explain what the exhausted status effect is for those of you who don't know what it is. Exhausted status effect is one of the many status effects in DBD where there's a cooldown for all of the exhaustion perks that you'll be running on a build. All of the exhaustion perks have the same meter. So for example, if you had run Dead Hard and Sprint Burst on one build, they both share one exhaustion meter. So if you use one, you'll have to wait for the entire cooldown to use either one after. While you're under the exhaustion status effect, you'll see on the right side a little heart icon with a cooldown meter, and when that disappears, that's when you're no longer exhausted and you can use any of your exhaustion perks again. And it's also important to note that the exhaustion meter won't go down when you're running. You only recover from the exhaustion when you're walking or crouching. Every exhaustion perk has a cooldown from 60, 50 to 40 seconds going from tier 1 to tier 3. So each exhaustion perk is similar in the fact that the only difference that tiers make is that after using that specific perk, the exhaustion cooldown is going to be shorter. As per the usual tier list, S tier is going to be the best exhaustion perks, while C tier is going to be the worst exhaustion perks. And I'm going to be going in order starting with S tier and then going down from there. Each tier will be in a specific order going from left to right, with the left being the best perks in that tier and the right side being the worst perks in that tier. And finally, I'm going to assume that the survivors using these exhaustion perks know the basics of how to use each perk, but they aren't a god with them, or they aren't really trash with them. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into the video. The first perk in S tier is going to be Sprint Burst. I personally think that Sprint Burst is the overall best exhaustion perk in the game. And if you don't know what Sprint Burst is, whenever you run when you're not exhausted, you break into a sprint at 150% of your normal running speed for 3 seconds. This is really useful in chases because it gives you a huge head start in the beginning when you see the killer coming at you. This is also really good outside of a chase because you can run from objective to objective and gen to gen really quickly. So you can not only move around the map really quickly outside of a chase, but it's also really useful to extend the duration of the chase while you're looping. You can also 99 the exhaustion meter with Sprint Burst, and right when it's up while you're in a chase, you can let go and then run again and you'll get your mega Sprint Burst. So it acts like a huge dead hard in a chase and it'll really catch the killers by surprise. I wouldn't consider this something that the average survivor does and knows how to do a lot, but it's worth noting. And even without using this, I still think that Sprint Burst is by far the best overall exhaustion perk in the game. The second perk that's going to be going in S tier is my personal favorite exhaustion perk in Dead Hard. Dead Hard is an activatable perk where whenever you're injured and not exhausted, you can press the activate ability button and you quickly dash forward, avoiding all damage while you're in the dash. This is really good because if you use this right at the very end of the chase when the killer is about to swing you to put you in the dying state, the killer will miss their hit and then it'll extend the chase so much longer. This is just a really solid perk to have in a chase because there's a really good element of surprise to it, and it gives you the opportunity to extend chases so much longer than you normally would without this perk. Moving down to A tier, the first perk that's going to be in this tier is Lithe. Lithe is basically a Sprint Burst, but it's activated by vaulting a window. Whenever you rush vault a window, you break into a sprint at 150% of your running speed for 3 seconds, exactly like Sprint Burst. This is really nice because you actually get to control when you want to use it. So if you want to save the Sprint Burst for a chase, you can definitely do that and just vault a window in the chase and you'll zoom away. If you do this in a really good loop where the killer's right behind you at the window, you can get a huge lead in the chase. You can also use this outside of a chase if you want to. You can quickly vault the window and move around the map really quickly. This is basically an activatable Sprint Burst, which is why it's really good. The second perk that's going to be going on A tier is Smash Hit. This brand new exhaustion perk is pretty similar to Lithe in the fact that it's an activatable Sprint Burst, but the only difference is that to activate it, you need to pallet stun the killer, and right after you do that, you'll run at 150% of your normal running speed for 4 seconds instead of 3, so you get an extra long Sprint Burst, which is really good. This is a little worse than Lithe in my opinion because it is a little harder to activate and you'll only really be able to use this inside of a chase, but when you pull this off, you'll gain so much ground because you have 4 seconds of the Sprint Burst. At that point, the killer is going to be stunned and you're going to be so far away. Most of the time, the killer is just going to give up. And if they keep chasing you, that's just extending the loop for so much longer than it would have if they just gave up. So it's honestly in the killer's best interest to just give up after you get smash hit. The last perk that's going to be going on A tier is Adrenaline. A lot of people don't really consider this the typical exhaustion perk because you can't use it whenever you want to, but regardless, it is still an exhaustion perk because you still get effective from the cooldown meter, just like all of the other exhaustion perks. When the ice gates get powered, you're instantly healed 1 health state and you get a sprint burst for 150% of your normal running speed for 5 seconds. So you get a mega sprint burst and an insta heal, either going from the dying state to the injured state or going from the injured state to the healed state. This perk can be really clutch if you're in a chase or you're currently in the dying state while the exit gates get open. This perk can honestly make the difference between life and death in the trial. It's definitely not an S tier in my opinion, because most of the time Adrenaline won't even affect you, because A, you'll either never even reach the exit gates, or B, you'll be out of a chase and already healed and the sprint burst won't do you really any good. Moving down to B tier, the first perk in this tier is Balanced Landing. Balanced Landing is similar to Lithe in the fact that it's an activatable sprint burst, and to activate it you need to jump from a great height, so falling from one of the main buildings or running off of one of those rock hills or running off an object. But when you land, you sprint at 150% of your running speed for 3 seconds. This perk also has an added bonus that when you do actually fall from a great height, your stagger duration is reduced by 75% and your grunts are muffled by 100%. When you're in a chase, this is super good to use, because instead of landing and just staggering, kind of standing there stunned for a little bit while the killer doesn't get any stun and they'll most likely hit you, you actually get a sprint burst and you gain a huge distance in the chase. I personally think this is a B tier and it's not an A tier with Lithe and the others, because there are some maps that don't have many great height places to jump from. So with that being said, there are many places you can actually use this. You probably have to go out of your way to use this outside of a chase to just run around the map quickly. This probably isn't the perk to do that with, and you definitely have to go out of your way to find a place to fall from in a chase. So it makes it a little harder to use, but when you pull it off, it's a pretty good perk. Last but not least, the last perk that's going to be going in C tier is Head On. Head On is a pretty unique exhaustion perk. Whenever you stand in a locker for 3 seconds, Head On activates, and if you perform a rushed action, so if you run out of the locker and you hit the killer, you stun them for 3 seconds if they're within the range and they're really close to the locker. So this can come in pretty clutch if the killer is holding someone, then it'll actually stun them and it'll actually free the survivor that the killer is holding. So this perk has its uses, but the range is really nitpicky, and sometimes when you rush out it doesn't even work and you're just caught in a really awkward place where the killer knows where you are, you didn't stun them at all, and they'll basically just get a free hit off of you. You also won't get a lot of use out of this perk because it's really specific. The killer has to be like right next to you at the locker, and if you don't pull it off in time, the killer will just open the locker if they know you're in there and they'll immediately get you and hook you. You also can't chill in a locker and wait for the right time, because you can't use Head On if you have the stillness crows around you in the locker. You have to get in the locker really quickly and also leave the locker really quickly, so it doesn't give you much time to do it, and it's overall just not a great exhaustion perk. But yeah guys, that was my exhaustion perk tier list. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this tier list, and also let me know other tier lists you guys would want to see on the channel. You guys always have great ideas and I would love to do more tier lists with your guys' ideas. So yeah guys, that's going to be the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you're new. This has been Sharpshot, and I will see you guys in the next video.